page pay hey, page pay. Okay.
Yes.
That's right.
Second, let me just get my sticker open here.
Chaim. Do you have any questions from the last time? It's very important that you have questions. You spend your time learning elsewhere and other things. But it's important to have questions about this, not to get lost. It's possible to get lost in here.
Yes.
Okay, no questions? Or you're thinking?
Let me just go to my page over here. I don't think I had any questions yet.
Last week you went through he went through at least 3 different ways that you could add up Yud K Vav K. Different kinds of ways of doing that. So I want to know if you actually had a handle on that, you understood what he was doing.
I think I didn't have the I've heard of this before. Like, this is not that piece is not so new to me. Good.
So let's get started. Let's say we already started. Let's get started, and we'll read number from Kaf Dalet down below. V'hinei kometz mora al keser kanoda, v'keser hu tamim, v'patach mora al chochma, v'hem nekudos. V'lechein, in relationship to keser, then this will be the tamim, and this will be the nekudos. V'lechein nekroim shtei nekudos elu kometz upatach. So that doesn't really tell us that much. V'hem morim al yinizka, they talk about what? Shal sag shehu b'bechinas oros ha'achap. What is sag? Something about sag. Sag is, first of all, the tamim b'sag, or the achap. Adayim choyo oros kumutzim v'stume, and at that point, the lights were still in a comet state. They were closed up. Because you brought up b'bechinas and nekudas when the nekudas same. Shehem ha'chochma shehi patach, v'hi b'bechinas eitz, ayin, kanizkar. Oz hem b'besicho, when they open up, b'besicho de ayinin, that's the language over there. When the eyes open, that's the kind of the concept of the patach, which is a concept of an opening. But in the beginning, where you talk about tamim, which is keser, it's always a komot. So what is he telling us about this? He's telling us about keser, something about the nature of keser. Though he says, "Lefi hacholucha niskeres lamala sheteshes and nekudim meramazam al teshes spheres mekeser ad yisod nimsa shekometz meramas the keser shehuba bechinas tamim." So the keser is really tamim about patech. Well, therefore, in this lineup would be chochma shehuba bechinas nekudos in relationship to the tamim. So tamim nekudos, etc. Words, it says, it's over there in Tartanta. We see a little bit about that. And also in the Akudim. Tamim and nekudos. The nekudos. So what is achap? Achap is the top part of the nekudos. They come from inside of the ear. And they also come from the nose, and it goes from the mouth. But these are all referred to, once again, to the achap. And tamim the achap. Because there still were no kelim. The lights of the mouth, so that was actually the concept of the akudim. So therefore they're just called lights, because there's no particular kli for any of them, except for one for all of them. But the fichach nikbrach keser and nekudas komas. Avachashecha nekudas the sag, v'hu nekudas the nekudos. Shehem bebechinas chochma yotza metoch anayim, when they come out of the eyes. Az nizgalo ha'oras be'asara kelim nefradim. And what happens and makes the difference here is that light is going to have 10 individual kelim, separate from each other. Because now all of them are going to have a kli, separate kli. So that's the patach. This is the time where we talk about the eyes are now open. So that's another place. I think I want to emphasize, and I should say this to you, that the purpose of learning the Rav is that the purpose of this is to be able to learn the Zohar. Because in the Zohar is really where the ultimate, let's say the ultimate music is to be found. And I've seen that the Gaon said that will bring learning of the Zohar, which is really what needs to take place. And very few people out in the Ashkenaz community, that's for sure. But maybe the Sephardi community would be a lot more. But very few people learn the Zohar. But everybody agrees that this is the most important place to learn. But it's a little bit on the private side. To understand the Zohar, you really need to understand the Rav. That's what the Rav said, is that the reason why he came into the world and did what he did is for us to be able to have an opening to be able to understand what the Zohar is talking about. So I just want to say that. So just for future reference.
I mean, all this, like I've seen since like we started learning for sure more that a lot of like the structural setup that he builds over here is very elementary to like. It's almost like if you learn the Zohar, they assume that you know everything in like let's say that we've learned so far in the Iyar for sure.
Okay, well, it's the same music. It's just brought down a little bit lower, but we have to get the narrative together. That's what you're saying. It's just like a story here. Okay, let's go on to number Ktvei. I just wanted to bring that out because that's really what this is an introductory sefer. This is an introductory sefer to be able to understand the Zohar better. So, and have a hand in it. Okay, so now it goes number Ktvei. So v'nachzer devar hapasuk einecha etc. So kikasher ba bechinas ayin. When the aspect of ayin comes into the picture, I think that's what he means. Ayin, and then he says ayin. Let's see, I think I lost something. Kasher ba bechinas ayin shehem nekudos. Mem az pokeach anecho. There it says, open up your eyes. Bebesika de einin. So this phrase, besika de einin, the opening up of the eyes, which are also ayins. It's different things. Al pi hakdamas elu chozer harav levar bir hapasuk pokeach anecho. V'hu ki kasher nizgala ha'or metoch ha'anayim da'ak. His chilu ha'kelim his galus begilui gamor. Then the kelim start to be coming out in a gilui gamor. Ki hu asara kelim shleimim v'lechein davka be'anayim mishtamash hakasu b'loshen pokeach. It's talking about what the eyes, it says when open up your eyes, ki sham koy his galus gamor, because there is where the revelation of the eyes are I guess. We'll see what he means by the revelation is going to be of the kelim. I think he was talking about. Shahid the bechinas and his keres betikune b'psika da'ainin. V'hemshech b'bir v'zech pasuk is boir l'kamon b'sof perik. Then he says v'hine gavarn is boir ki kol bechinas ha'elu heim b'shem sag. All of these different aspects that we're going to be talking about have to do with this name sag. Hashem azel romez the bina sag in the lineup would be tamim would go with av, and in this idea is that this would be going along with sag. Hashem azel romez the bina, so bina is with that. Shehi gevura shel ilah. So what did I say? I said it has to do with av, and then the next is going to be sag. So it's av sag ma'u ben. So sag is going to go with bina. So let me see if I said that wrong. He says, let me see it again. Just leave it like that. She's the upper gevura. The ba tali and the dinim. That from bina comes all the dinim. The dinim are what? They're contractions. They're dinim. So therefore, when we're looking at sag, that is where you have the idea of the nullification of the kings. What is this about? He says, "Hinei kavarnis boer la'esher shem av shehu bebechinas yud ravaya shehu chochma." So that's also chochma. Ubekumas ak hu hakar kafta. That was going to be the very top of the skull of ak. V'shem sag hu bebechinas he rishona ravaya shehu bina, which refers to bina. V'hu kulel oros achap, and it has within it also the lights of the achap, shehu av the sag, which is the av the sag. The highest part of sag would be the achap. Olam nekudim shesham koyach shavira. So in the olam nekudim, which is where the shavira takes place, shehu besag the sag. That's going to be in the sag the sag. Masha kosav aravsha habina he gevura law. What does he mean when he says bina is bina, gevura is gevura? But what does it mean is bina is gevura law? About Talian the dinim, and he says furthermore that the dinim come out from there. Kavanasa lomar kemen shela'achra tikun. Now we haven't discussed this. It's going to be coming up. It's going to be very important. But after the tikkun, because we really don't understand what's before the tikkun yet. But after the tikkun, the flow of light is going to be in 3 lines. Which is called chochan, which will
up until this point, the flow of light is in a straight line, right? 10 in a row, straight down.
Yeah, which is
right, okay.
Trying to think of
that's the Olam of Av, like the first. That's like the Olam of Akudim. It's everything is just linear.
That's right. So it's Rebbe Shimon says, and I'm trying to think of where this is the beginning of the Tikkunim. I think he says, how long will the world be able to last on one leg? B'kav echad. So that's the beginning of that. So we understand that's just what you said. Is that originally everything is a one line? Not exactly. So he's gonna qualify that. V'ofen shehochma chesed netzach, on the right, this is called the right line. Hein b'kav yomim. Bina gevura and hod hein b'kav small. This is really answering why do we call bina the gevura law. V'keser teferes yisod the malchus, which is called, I guess it's usually kadatim. There's no das in this, but this would be katim like that. Hein b'kavim soy. They're the middle line. The spheres of Gevura, so therefore it is the source of the Shefa that goes into Gevura. It's as if you're saying ki mebina dinim isarim, and that's a phrase you see a lot. From bina is where dinim are aroused. The ficha of bina nikros Gevura law, so that's the reason why it's called Gevura law, meaning it's the source, the hiyoshihim mashpia, the Gevura shalamata b'mena. Coming back now. But as we said, in Olam nekudim, it doesn't come out in 3 lines.
Right. In the Olam of nekudim, underneath bina is chesed, right?
That's true, in the straight line. So now he's going to come. He's going to go. So the straight line really exists in the zat. From Chesed through Malchus. That's where the straight line is. The other upper 3, and he's about to say that. Rak hashlosh sfiras elyonos, we call Malcolm every place. Kevin shall be a shuhu sag, omed is bekav is small, since that's lining up in the left line. Shuhu kavadin, misorder them babachinas adinim, that's where that comes from. The chen hashvira, so therefore the shvira, hanikras bittel, it's called the bittel of Malachim, Shena'asa beside the din, that actually takes place from the side of din, Choya b'shem sag, which is the shorish of din, which is that left line that you've been talking about. So he said, so number of Kaf Zayin, v'gam bepratos hasag. Now looking at sag in detail, yesh ba b'chinas hatamim. Sag has tamim too. Shehem heim anikroim av im, this shegam heim nikroim, av. So it's like the Av the Sag. Anam and the Kuda shall Sag. Him Ikrius Sag Atzmo Shachum Sag the Sab Shabasag. Visham Choya Habitl Varamisa. So you had 2 different ideas. The Av the Sag. The Av the Sag refers to the Achap really. But then there's also a Sag the Sag. And that's the place where the Bittel takes place. Leil nisbar shebebechinas haklalos the shem asa of the shemos asmab. Hoyere shvira b'shem sag. The shvira took place in one of those names. V'atem ivar harav shem sag atzmo. That if you're talking about the name of sag itself, nechla bepratos the arba bechinas tanta. So there's a tamim and there's a nekudus and there's a tagim and an osios of the name sag. Shehem keneged arba shemos havaya asmab. So and also you could put the tanto against those. Over bebechinas a tamim should be nekudos. So if you're talking about the tamis and nekudos, shehem keneged av the sag yatsa the oris of achap. Ovechem lo chois shum bechinas shavira. They really did not break. Bebechinas nekudos should be nekudos, but when you get to the nekudos and nekudos, shehem keneged sag the sag. Heim ikr bechinas a sag, which is really the essence of sag. So this is where the break takes place. This is that bittul. So he said, "Vazeh seder hakol sag yachtav ne'alochu." So what does sag mean? Ki b'shem sag hoyu kol a bittul. So what does sag mean in that pasuk in Tehillim? The sag atzmo mora al zeh shehu maloshen nesogo achor, that he turned backwards. Shehu bittul. The idea of being nullified. He goes through that phrase, nivashu, they dried up. That's what he wants to say. He said, and alochu means divine. I thought it meant like lashon milchama, but he says it means dried up. Behind the Shem Sag, in a shvira of a bittel where they dried up. Ve'etzim milas sag the mora al shvira, ki hi meloshen nesogo achor, shahazar la'achrayim, that they went backwards. For who inyan shall bittel, instead of growing and being full of life, they went the other way. So he says, v'hina ayin gam came nikra al shem sag. So the ayiv is also called by that. How does that work? Kamo achab kaniska la'el, just like achab is called by the name sag. It's the tam in the sag. So here we have the nekudah de sag. It is v'hu be'inyan zeh. Yahalo kasher choya shalosha bechinas and iskarim achab shehem atamim. Choya shom shem sag shalachem bechinas havaya shal sag. And then he shows us what the havaya of sag looks like. It has its milui of yudim, but an aleph and the vav. V'amnam ba'ayin, in the eye, shuba bechinas de kudos, whose sag shall shlosha pamim ekya. So its sag, there's different ways to add up sag. Now this is a whole thing which I saw. I would like to get into it again, but different ways to add up the number sag. So he says the sag could be 3 times 21. Shuba gematria sag gamke. V'zu chiba b'chinas sag asher ba'ayin. That's the sag that's in the ayin. So I'm not sure exactly how you make this work out. I don't have anything for it. But it's just in fact that it comes out to be 3 times 21 is 63. So what I was trying to think of is what is the meaning of 21? What does 21 do for me here? And I don't have the answer. Let's see if he gives me one. He's in his boy la'el shetevis ozen ola begematria sag shan itzarafimo as Os hey hayotzim oris ha'ozen. So we said that hidden inside of that ear is this letter hey. So if you take the word ozen, which is 58, and the 5, you remember that. The tevis chotem, also the word chotem is the gematria itself of sag. That was what I was thinking about, is about 321. The tevis peh, ola the minion sag, should starf ima, kof base, kamisbar, kof base, osis atorah, and ramazim elakalim. So we heard that before, and so he's going on with that. So now something new here. Is a Rav Levire ki gam ayanayim ramozim b'shem sag. Also, how's that? Ak ein zu merumaz b'shem havaya the sag, but you don't get the answer of how the remez is by the havaya. But in other words, the gematria. Havaya the sag shehu yud ke vav ke, like that she ola geminyan sag, because of course that is a sag. Shezecha b'china choyse b'achab kanal, because that aspect, which is the milui of the Havaya of Sag, he said that refers to the Acha. So I'm not sure what this means exactly.
I mean, the Inayim are not in the Achap. The Inayim are something else, right?
Well, that's what he's going to say. But what I was thinking of is, what was I thinking of? Just for myself, I was thinking about, here is a milui. A milui refers to a higher level, the higher level in some way. That teaches about the sag that's going to be involved with the achap. So just as a category, the milui works with the top part. I'm the manayim, but the nayim, which are not the top part, Ramoza b'shlosha pamim shem akish ola yachta, put them all together, what do you get? You get sag. The zuhi b'chinas sag sheba'ayin, that's the sag that's in the eyes. So it's a little difficult to understand exactly, but the light of the Ein Sof, we're saying, it's the light of the Ein Sof one way or another, winds up going through this process of 321s. And those 321s represent the eyes. So he's giving it like a fact. I don't really know exactly how they would work.
He answers the question right now. The next line.
Okay, v'im tomer eza shaychus yesh l'shem ekeh el ayin al zeh ka'amar. And this he says like al zeh ka'amar v'hinei kol shem ekeh me'elo hashlosha. Every time you have an ekeh from these three, or let's say for example, lokech kol b'chidas hakaf base ozios nir mazeh b'kamatz. Now, how is a kamatz a patach? So how do you get that? Kenizka the el. Let's read what he said before. He says, you want to know what the 21s have to do with the eyes, right? That's what he says. And then he said, "V'hinei kol shem egya me'elo hashlosha lokech kol b'chidas hakaf bas osios ademazim b'kamatz upatach." So how does that get kenizka the el? So he'll explain that. Kedei la'asos bechem kelim, in order to make for them kelim. Ayidei histaklos ayin bechem. And how does this happen? Because the eye looks at them. V'im came. Called ekya mehem hu kolo kaf base osios. So he says that every ekya, which is 21, but he says every one of these is going to be 22 letters. Now I'm not sure how we got to that. So usually, if you say 21 and it's actually 22, they have a concept called a kolel, and the kolel adds on to it. So the nimza gimel shemus ekya im shlosha pamim kaf base osios begematria kal, which is the gematria of ayin. Hare ech shem sag romez gam came ba'ayin. Now I need help with this, really, to understand all that. I could read it again. Let's see the tiv. Shlosha shemos ekyas. So we had these three ekyas would come out to 63. Hamizgalim ba'ayim, and they are revealed in the eye. Heim bebechinas oras bilvad. They're a concept only of lights. So lights without kalim are not worth much. So therefore, they need the 22 letters. Shehem kelim nemaziv b'nekudas kamatz and patach, which is mentioned in the two nekudas of kamatz and patach. How is that? Sheyesh b'chem shnei kavim. They have two lines, which are each of 6. 6 and 6. V'nekuda achas kaminyan kaf be, and one dot, which is a 10. Makes it into 22. Kanizkar Lamala, as we mentioned that technique before. So generally speaking in Kabbalah, so anytime you see a dot, it's a 10. The Nimsa the fee says Sheyesh Kam Shlosh Pamim Ekya Shehema Oros. So what you have here is now 3 times 21. The Ekya represents the Oros. There could be detail to that, but that's not for here. So Bapam Ekya Shehema Oros, the Imam Shalosh Pamim Kaf Beis Osius Shehem Kalim, and you had that V'yachtav Aim Olam Begematria Kal, which is a gematria of ayin. So if you take the light, you take the kalim, and you put them together, you get to the gematria of ayin. V'harei Mevor Bezos Heich Shem Sag is in the eye. Now that still leaves me a little bit more. I would like to know some more. What is your thinking about this?
I mean, I could just repeat this in English and try to see if it sounds normal. I mean, if it sounds like that's understandable. I think, so sag, so we've previously said that the patach is in the sag, but we didn't say that the kamatz was in the sag.
Okay, well, the kamatz of the sag, so the kamatz in the sag refers to the achap.
Meaning, so he's saying the upper 2 levels of the sag combined together to make the ayin?
So let's read it one more time.
Or I shouldn't say that. I think that it means that the upper two letters, like the achap and the ayin of sag, combine together to make
the number 22. Makes the number 22. So what do we add on to the 22? We added on suck 63. 3 times 22 is 66.
And then 3 times 21, which is the ekya.
Okay, so that gives you to the gematria of Kuf Lamed. So we
which is the gematria of ayin.
Okay, let's go on to the number Lamed Aleph. He said, so we're in Achap. When we talk about Achap, Yesh Shlosha Pamim Sag. You have in Achap, you have Sag used 3 times. He said, what kind of Sag is it? It's the Sag of the Milui. And Begimatria Pokeach. Imakolel. So that if you take that, 3 times Sag, he says, get to the Gematria Pokeach is what? 188. So he said 188 and 3 times Sag is going to be 189. And then after that comes the concept of the eye. And that's the concept of your eyes. So we said that. That's what we said. We said that. Shehem Gematria Kasa, which comes 3 times the Ekya as a Milui. I don't think we've talked about this. As a Milui, Yud Vav Dalid, K Yud, Yud Vav Dalid, was the start? No, Aleph Lamed Fei, there we go. Amid Lamed Fei, K Yud, Yud Vav Dalid, K Yud. There comes a Gematria of Kasa. We talked about Kasa at all? So there's...
No, but I've heard that. I heard the two miluyin of Ekya are Kasa and Kana.
Also, so it's the way I pronounce it is Kasa Kamag. There's also a Kamag. It's a milui of Alafim. There are 3 of them, and the other one is Kana. That's the way I pronounce it. So a Shehem Gematria Kasa Kaminyan and Necho, like which has the same Gematria as your eyes. So Ima Kola, add the Kola on, and that gets you that same Gematria. Vizabakecha Necho Ure Shemamo Seno, and you'll see our destruction. Hikan Koya Shemamon Ubitla Malachim, because this is where the desolation took place, the death took place. So, I don't know. Something about you have Sphira also. We have this tremendous thing that happened during Sphira. I don't know if it has to do with this either. Daniel Amelitz, Tov al Yisrael. So he said Amelitz. I said it wrong. Daniel Amelitz Tov al Yisrael b'shas churban abayis v'omar. And he said what? He said shechatosehem v'avonosehem boim machmas shenishbru akelim. Ki zera v'gorim sheyisara v'tov b'ruah. That's what happens when the kelim broke. Mishum kach yeshu kolos b'dei ish v'yisraeli la'asus ha'roh b'einei Hashem chas v'shalom. But the Fichoch, Omer Daniel, so therefore Daniel came and said like this, the Kodesh Baruch Bokeach, open up. Behind the Sha'atach of Hotzos, Oros Shehem Shlosh Pamim Sag, bring out these lights, which is the 3 times Sag. He said, Yotzam Midizgalim Ba'achab, which are revealed in Achab. Now he's saying like in Achab, at that level, you don't have the mixture of the break didn't take place there. So therefore you don't have the mixture of the raw in there. But over here, once the break takes place, so therefore it's called Pokeach Imakola, which is 188 plus a Kola is 189. Says Oris Enayim, and then after that it takes out the lights of the eyes, Shehem Einecha, which are your eyes. Kishem Ekyacha Yotzim Anayim, Hubamilu Yudin Kazeh, then he shows you the Milu of Yudin looks like this. Sha'ola Begematria Kasa, that comes to the Gematria of 161. Shehu Kaminyan and Necho Imakolo, so if you take a Necho with the Kolo, you get to 161. Now what do we have here? Now I do know that Ekya has to do, and the Miloi has to do with Bina. So what are we doing here? Shehu Kaminyan and Necho Imakolo, the Reshim Amoseno, we'll see our destruction. Shesham Be'enayim Koyach Shavira. Shehi Bechinas Shmomon Ubitla Malochem. That's where everything went south.
Wow.
So now that was the first paragraph, but obviously
He's like sounds like he's like setting it up to get us ready to talk about that.
Okay, good. That is what he's doing. So let's read a little bit at the top. Yizboyer eich yotzach ha'oros the sag derech hanayim. So how, in fact, did they get out of the eyes? And he says, let's see, where would I want to start? Let's start Aleph down below. And just
There's a hakdama.
Oh, there's Akdama. Where is that? Is that on the previous page? No.
No, it just starts on the beginning of the Tiv and page Peches.
What it says, just trying to think of if I'm missing something here. Bidla Malachim. Okay, Hakdama, you're right. Okay, I missed it. I'll say, so Beperik Zechem Bevayer Harav Hech Yatzach Oras nekudim B'derech Hanayim. Ukedarko Shal Harav Cho Zechem B'Al Rishono. So he goes back to the original things, which is like a Mavor Od Kamas Yisodos. So he's going to come back and he's going to bring more into it. So he says, Klalim B'Bira Inyan. B'nei Kedei Shahakelim the nekudim. He calls them nekudos here. Yuklo the hishavos v'la'amba b'tibur da'ak ad sof raglov. So he's telling you where they're located now. So in relationship to Ag, it's from the Tibur Olamata. Hikdim ma'atzo beis bechinas. So before this could come out, you would see the nekudim actually come out of the eyes, and they're going to set themselves up in this location. You have to know two things. Ha'ala es ha'or pebinimios Ak. That one is that the inside of Ak was elevated, the light that was inside of Ak, min tibur lamata lamala, from the tibur down, from below the tibur, up above min tiburo. As a result of that, they're no longer in their destined place, like say down in the bottom of Ak. They're now up above. And so what they have to do is they have to shine on, I guess, I'm not sure exactly what they're shining on, but that form of Ak has to get its light from a distance. So number 2, lo choyedai bezet shaha oras meirem merachok. It's not enough just that they shine from a distance. Hutzrach hama'atzel lifros parsa bepinimios Ak. He actually sets up, we'll call it a diaphragm, in the center of Zak, in the middle of Zak, of Ak. And so that keeps a great amount of light coming out, even if it's coming from a distance. In other words, it was distant light to begin with, because all the light got sucked up. So where was it? We have to assume that inside of, I'm assuming, but I don't see anybody saying this, that inside of Ak are some kind of kalim, or that hold the light that was there. And those kalim, they need light, but they're not going to be able to get it right in their source. They're going to have to get it from a distance. But not only that, but he says it also creates a barrier between them, a parsa, rak al yedecha masach hamavdel, and that parsa is a masach, hamavdel bepenimius Ak, which really divides the inside of Ak, ben chedek gufa ha'elyon, between the upper part of his body, the Ak, the chedek gufa ha'tachton, the Ak, and that lower part of Ak. So now that's we're going into this area now to discuss this. 1 second. Okay, so now he said, "V'nachse the vart tekilachem echiyatzo elo nekudos v'achakach nedaber bepratos atzma." So we'll talk about the nekudos, and then we'll talk about the details. Beperik hazichem mevar harav echiyatzo ha'oros nekudim b'derech hanayim. So in fact, how did they come out of the eyes? Ki al pi haseder, because according to the order, you had to get lights, what he said, from the lower half of Ak, just like the same idea that you had the ozen chotem peh, one was below the next. So therefore, we have to say, so we had the Achap, and it was in an order. So then we have to explain how it is that light got out of the eyes. As we go into these prakim in more detail, So exactly how are these auras of and these kalim and nekudim? Did he say the word kalim? Yeah, they're gonna be formed. And it has to do with how they pass by the concept of achap. We're also going to explain lights that are flow out to the kalim through the openings, like the tibor, for example, and the yesod, the piya'ama. Masha Kosev Rabbi Pratos Atzman, so he says specifically about themselves, or their, I don't know what that means. Pirusha Devar Hashinuyim Bekalim the Nekudim. We're going to explain the differences in the Kalim and Nekudim. Ben Kalim Dagimel Rishonas the Kalim Design Tachtonas. There's going to be a difference between the Gar and the Zat. So, moving on. Tavar Amarnu in Shar Tanta, Perak Aleph. Ki akol yotze min adam kadmon and nizker the el, as we said before, Omer, Amarnu, we said like this in Shar Kudim. Ki hakudim higia ad tibur shel adam kadmon atzmo, that they strike like a long beard, and then after that it trades down into the tibur area. And even though we said that the lights come from the openings of the ear and the nose, Zehu ikor oros, which is the main part of the light, so what comes out of the openings, so also of the walls, but also he wants to say, we know about that as the achap, but we also know that light comes out of other parts of ak. Closely of the dofnei guf, from the walls of his body, so to speak. Shel zeha adam kadmon. Bokea, they break out, and v'yotze, and they come out, or comes out from that, or light. Umeir tamed bechem, and it's constantly glowing from them, so to speak, because of the light that's inside. Let's call it a glow. Adatan is boyer shakola oris yotzin begufa da'ak. It's really on the front side of Ak. So always see that there's also ha'ara coming around Ak. Umosif a Rav the voice, so the Rav adds on to explain. So besides the light which is coming out of the openings of the face, the Ak, Chaim ikra oros, which is this is the root of these lights. Behind him, from this chotem and from this mouth, yotzim mimena ha'adam ha'ara gam derek dofnei haguf me'irim tomei lo'olama shesavivas ak. V'yesh raya lizeh, I'm sorry, b'bisari echezal loka, which is a phrase that the Rav uses all the time. From my body, I can understand the formations of God. Adam mole nekavim, just like us. We have pores. We have all different kinds of openings, dakim, small little ones. She'enim nirim la'ayim, you can't even see them. Shemehem b'yotze zeya tadir. There is always some kind of flow of light coming out of them. So we have a few minutes. We'll keep going.
So he's saying there's like the main light is coming through the panim, but there's also this more, I guess, like a dimmer light or less light that comes through all the pores of the body.
That is correct. So it would be like for human beings also. There's a certain glow about each one of us, but we can't see it. It's not something in our range. Number Gimel, he said, "Gavarn is bar kikasher rotza ha'maatza laha'atza bechinas and nekudos." So when the ma'atza wants to bring this out, kavanoso choisa da'asos lachem bechinas kalim. What he needed to do was create kalim. Shiyuchol ha'olamos atachtoinim the kabel ha'or shalo shemeir bechem. So if you have a great light, you want to capture it. To be able to do something with that light, it needs a kli. Kavarn is baraki ratzon the ma'atzel choyesh sha'olamos atachtoinim, that the lower worlds, Yuchlu the Kabel as Oros Einayim, will be able to receive the lights of the eyes. Ficha also the Kalim. That's why you need Kalim. Kasher Yesh Ribui, or when there's a lot of light, Ein bekoach betachton in the kablam. It's a basic principle that we have to understand. Up in this time where you had the lights of the O's and of the nose and the ears and the nose, lo nischavu kelim the Kabbalah, or there were no kelim there that the light could fit into. Even that. You do have a kli, but it's only one, like a balloon. And inside of it, it has lots of other lights. So it's like kli echad shebo choyo kudim asara oros yachdav. So they bound the 10 lights, separate lights, in one kli. Aval ba'oretz einayim yatzach asara kelim nefradim zemezeh. So ba'ofen, in a way, what? Asher kol or yochol lagalos as midasoch miyuchadim alav, so that all light will be able to reveal all of the midos that are specific to it. So within it, you'll have a special kli that'll be able to hold that. Vayidei Kain, in this way, Yihya Kork B'nat Salim means those who are going to be recipients, the Kabbalah or Hazet, to be able to receive this light. Raw Matzel saw. So is
it just, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So the way the lights were coming out from the panim, that light was like, I guess it's better, but it's not as usable. Like it's more powerful, but it's not as usable because there's no kalim to it.
That's right. So I'm thinking, bear in mind that the powerful light is a negative light in the way it's the light of nothing. So what it is, it's a light of tremendous intention. It has this, this is me talking. It's a kavana. Kavana is really the kavana of the ma'atzel. So all of these other things are just a question, what do you do with that light, with the light of this kavana, the ma'atzel? Okay, so I'm working on that. Okay, yeah. Ra ma'atzel ki adayim lo choya korch b'mekablim the kabbalah oroshal anayim ha'elu. Asher makom his pashtusum kum makom atibor, is from the place of the tibor ad sim raglayim shal adam kadmon keniska. So they have to have these lights down there below this place in relationship to Ak. V'lechein ma'asa, so what they do. That if the shefa, the olam nekudim, which is really the sag, yotza the mata min tibor ad sof ragle Ak, derek dofne Ak. Commotion is boil la'el, shederek dofne Ak, that the way of the walls through the walls of Ak, yotzim oros, v'yisrabech abishama or ma'od, and you're going to have a lot of light there. V'machnas godela or lo yuchlo ha'kelin l'chiyos nekarim, because the light is so great, you wouldn't be able to find the kalim. So that's interesting, but once again, trying to figure out my mind is that the light is so great in the sense that it's has so powerful, but so little, so nothing, that it's not able to find kalim. It can't. It's too. What would you say? It's too dispersed, or it's too whatever. It's too you have to find kalim for it that the light could fit into. Lo yuchlo ha'kalim nikiyos nikarim sham. So that therefore the kalim, you can't find them there. V'lo yuchlo the hishavel sham, and they can't be made there. Ma'asa ma'atzel. So what did the ma'atzel do? So that they could be able to continue on. Now this is number Hey. Let me see. Number Hey is the last one in this section. Can we do number Hey? Oh, well, it's got a little arichas to it.
Second. Yeah. It's very long.
Yeah, it has a little of arichas to it. Whatever you want.
If you don't mind, if we can stop here.
Okay. So we're right at Khan here, and we'll, today is what, the 28th? Okay, I told you that I had this safer for you, and I was really looking, and I didn't give it to you yet, and I apologize for that. It's sitting right next to me. This book has answers to many, many things in it, and some of it was really pretty hard for me. And I'll give it to you. Reason why I didn't give it to you right away was because I lost my phone I got a new flight to get a new phone, and there was an app on my phone that showed the constellations above us, below us, and all around us. So we have an idea where we really are in space. I was going to try to show that to you for kicks, just for my pleasure.
I actually have an app like that already on my phone.
What is it? Because I don't.
The app on my phone it's called Stellarium.
Okay, I'll try that. Anyway, so you have that on your phone. But here,
I actually look looking at the stars. Not like I know exactly what they mean, but I'm familiar with like the night sky, like what I'm looking at in the night sky.
So you understand that underneath us, also through the earth, on the other
Sure.
side, right? So it's a little ball with all this stuff going around. Okay. Anyway, I'll give this to you. I'll get you this. I could, I have to do things like put it in my car. Then I won't forget. So that's what I'll do. I'll put it in the car, and we'll give it to you. The first part of the book. So I'm reading this book little by little. I've read it 2 or 3 times now. Over my YouTube channel, which helps me to learn it a lot better. And would you said that your ancestor had he goes through the different combinations, the 12 combinations of the name of Havaya. He also shows you how the combinations work astrologically. In other words, what midos are being affected by each successive month. He goes through a lot. There's a lot here. So anyway, and now we're starting about the 12 tribes and about the tribes in the desert. He goes through that too. What does it have to do with Yud Ke Vav Ke? Well, it's the same 12. So we're going back to the 12. He goes through all that. You'll like it, I think. Hope so. Anyway, I'll try to get to you as soon as I can.
Okay. Well, I'm excited.
Okay, Kotov.
I do a lot.
Whoops. I thought it was finished.
Hi, hello.
Yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off. You were about to say?
No, I was just going to say that I do a lot of, like, interesting reading. So, this fits right in,
It's he worked very hard on it. He's just an ordinary astrologer. That's what he said. But you'll see that he's quite a makubal because it all works around together the same way. Anyway, I'll put it in the car right now.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.